debates, so we will try to make it as quick and as interesting as possible. And it is, in fact, a very interesting session. Over the last few hours since morning, we have discussed a whole lot of aspects ranging from people, process, and technology and culture, which kind of are very universal to all organizations, but more so to the GCCs. But we decided that, while we are talking of all these aspects which have always been there and being spoken about, and they have evolved for the GCCs across India, we said, why don't we look at the next breed of GCCs that are coming into India? We have had big banks, big financial services companies. We have had big energy companies who have already set up their GCCs in India, and they have been scaling up continuously. But what about the new breed that has been non-traditional to the GCC sector? And here I'm talking about organizations in sectors like agriculture, luxury retail, public accounting, education, and very interestingly, battery technology. So this is something, and of course, energy in itself is a big sector, and we have had GCCs from big energy players, but battery technology is very niche. So I'll let Saru talk more about that. But the idea is that we are looking at these game-changing players who are, let's say, the next icons of GCCs in India that we will be perhaps hearing about more in the coming years. So I have, like I said, representation from agriculture, from battery technology, luxury retail, education, and public accounting. So welcome everyone. And we are going to be talking about their roadmap when it comes to being a new breed GCC and not a traditional GCC enterprise. So Suchithra, let me start with you. And like I said, we are witnessing this influx of new breed GCCs, and they're entering India. So how do you see the development? What is really driving you in terms of your organization to set up, one is the GCC in India, because we haven't seen, I'm not too sure, maybe not to my knowledge, too many agriculture GCCs in India. So what is the driving factor, and what is the potential to scale for a GCC in a niche sector in India?
Yeah, indeed, agriculture is a new topic. I've been in the IT/digital industry for the last 3 decades. So you can imagine this is a very niche and a new space for me as well. A simple answer to your question, why agriculture in India, is we are an agrarian economy.
As a GCC.
Yeah.
So mean, that's the biggest chunk of the...
Yes, so that makes companies like Yara. Yara is a fertilizer company. So it's a classical manufacturing company, and we've seen manufacturing companies come to India anyway, so that's not new. And in a classical manufacturing, you're looking at process or IT outsourcing. So that existed. What is new about agriculture is to understand and deploy digitalization for a farmer on the field. And that is very, very new. And why India? For 2 reasons. We do have good talent that can scale out globally, to serve global. 2, to my point that I made earlier, India is a big market, so it also acts as a big lever to launch a GCC in India and to test the market locally. Okay. So that those 2, then I summarize as the reasons why GCC started in India.
That's interesting, because you're saying that you're not just looking at yourself as a capability center, but also as India as a market.
Yes.
It's a huge market.
Yes. So it's a bit different here, and that's the interesting thing for the new gen GCCs. I'm sure we'll hear more from others. It is a capability that needs to be developed inside the enterprise. So for a fertilizer company, we are leaning forward to provide solutions to the farmer how to best use fertilizer. But fertilizer application can't be seen in isolation, right? It's about the weather, it's about the soil. So you need a lot of data, analytics, AI to work together to generate the right insights. So you're leaning forward as a fertilizer company, and you need to test it where best do you test it, where you have the talent, who can go to the fields and test it. So this is what's making GCC, it's still capability, but with a difference, right? You are now going also and touching and feeling the experience of the capability.
Right, absolutely. That's interesting. Rajeev, we were talking earlier and we kind of discussed that for these new gen GCCs, it's not perhaps a numbers game. It's more of a specialization game. And we cannot expect the same growth arc as the well-known or rather the established GCC in India. So what is your take on that? How do you see the evolvement and the evolution of these new gens GCCs in India from a growth arc perspective and from a scalability perspective? And if you can also give some views from your own company's perspective.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Shipra. And I think great points from Suchithra. So I think the way, first of all, we really need to think about growth has to be in different dimensions. And I think that's a bit of a maturing that's happened in the industry over here. And when I think a lot of this industry was starting many years ago, the growth or the impact was only in terms of numbers of people. And I think that's the paradigm shift that has to really kind of take place in our mindset. And I think, yes, there have been obviously multiple waves of large setups that have come in. And they have all really kind of helped in building that brand and that whole ecosystem. But I think as there are new companies coming in, they are really looking at our talent, value, and innovation. And I think that's where the real growth really comes in my perspective of what's the growth trajectory that we think from these companies. So these companies will never talk about tens of thousands of people like some of the larger companies, which is where I think there is value as well. But this is talking about taking end-to-end product ownership, driving certain innovation. In our company, Curriculum Associate, which is a edtech provider in the US in the K-12 space, we are a very purpose-driven company. Our purpose is to help classrooms become better for students and educators. Can our products get built faster? A child who's an 8-year-old child will never be an 8-year-old child again. So if we have to give a product which is better and his or her learning improves, can we deliver that faster? And I think that's where India and our GCC setup over here is playing the role.
Very interesting remark that you made about how a child who is 8-year-old now will never be 8-year-old again. They will be. So you have to be there at that time, real time, and be there when they need and not wait for it. Great, thank you so much. So Balaji, again, if you look at public accounting, we have, of course, we have BFSI, big BFSI is having the GCCs, but within that, public accounting is again a very niche segment. So how do you see the GCC play in this particular sector and in other new breed GCC sectors in terms of the growth arc that you see? And is it a numbers game or is it a value? Of course, it's a value game, but the number games, does it really exist in this sector?
Great question. I think, audible? Okay. So we are a mid-market public accounting firm. So our client base is actually a lot of closely held businesses as well as institutions. So both of these customer segments or client segments like to be served differently, right? So for us, success is not perhaps scale. It is our ability to intimately serve our clients. We use the phrase client-centric advisory. So can we build talent here, which is at par with our talent pool in US, that can deliver audit, tax, and consulting services to our client base seamlessly without geography coming in the way, right? Or time zone coming in the way. That is success for us. Success is also, can we build capabilities in India that the firm will take perhaps longer or may find it difficult to build in the US. Could be innovation, could be technology, could be new products and services for our existing or evolving client needs, right? So those are things that we look at as success. And also, can we leapfrog and crash this whole maturation curve of building a GCC and taking it to a stable state, where in the past it may have taken for a similar industry 5 to 10 years. Can we do that in 3 years, 4 years, where we are able to do end-to-end audits and end-to-end tax work and consulting work out of India alongside our US. So you're not delivering to the US, you're delivering alongside our US firm to our clients. And the clients don't really feel a difference. They just get some world-class service irrespective of geo.
Right, so that also means, these niche GCCs, one is that they're leapfrogging a whole lot of groundwork that was already done. So, and of course, for them, it's not a numbers game, which kind of makes them more agile also. So hence they're able to, move with agility. However, the fact that it's not a numbers game is a good thing because, of course, while a talent paucity is always there, but since we are talking about sectors which have very niche talent requirements, so Saru, I think it cannot get more niche than battery technology. So in your case, when you are saying that we don't need maybe 10,000, but we still need those 1,000, and we need them to be very skilled in very specific areas, very specialized areas. So what are the challenges you face with, building that kind of talent, and how are you working towards addressing this?
Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
So, great question, okay? It's the hardest thing to do, okay? Our interviews, we hire 1 in 10 people, and we're lucky if we get 1 in 10 people. So, to tell you why this is so difficult, I need to geek out a little bit on tell what is a battery, and what is it that people expect from batteries, right? So let me start with the second question. What do people expect from batteries, right? So one is something called energy density, right? What does it mean? How much can you get out from a single charge, right? In 2005, we had a 2-inch screen, right? 1 CPU, right? And it worked on 3G. Now it's 2023. I did this analysis, right? We have 6 inches of screen space, 6 cores, right? And it's running on 5G, right? And the capacity of the battery has gone up 4x in these 20 years, right? And it's, we want more, right? So I did an experiment, right, to see how much battery is needed, right? So we ran Gen AI model on a mobile, right? It was converting text to image, right? It consumed the battery in 60 minutes, right? That's it, right? So, so battery, so what does the battery have? So the internals of the battery is, I'll take like 30 seconds to explain this, right? So there's something called an anode, there's a plastic, and there's something called a cathode, right? And this sandwich repeats itself, right? And this whole thing sits in a can, and it sits in something called an electrolyte, right? Now, how this whole thing works to get that energy density, right? It's quite challenging, right? Okay, so do we have talent in India to get this right away? We do have it. There are specific places in the country. There are specific groups that work in batteries. We have to set up one-on-one relationships with them. And so we have a PhD pipeline. I know all the top professors working in the country. So we set up a PhD pipeline. We have started discussing about projects specifically with them. The other way that we do is, well, we don't get these people, so what do? So we take other engineers, like chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, data scientists, and convert them into battery scientists, right? That's one more way to do it. This is the, and there is also money, right? So we attract them with RSUs, more money, right? So get the right talent, right? This is about getting the talent, right? Now, how do we keep them, right? That's hard too, right? So I spoke to R&D head of Bell Labs in 2000, right? He's a retired guy, Bell Labs. I was speaking to him, and I said, how do you keep all these guys excited, right? One thing he said is, give them challenging problems, give them space, get out of their way, right? And they'll produce, right? And I think that works, like real charm, it works. Yeah, so that's one thing. Take feedback serious from people. Create a really fun and learning atmosphere. These are all good tricks to keep them excited and be with us.
So
Yeah.
a lot of, let's say, partnership with academia as well as the government.
Yeah.
So what is your suggestion to those GCCs? It may not be obviously battery technology, but who are looking at very specialized workforce. What is your suggestion to them in terms of how do they build that skilled workforce?
You have to take people from other areas and teach them.
Upskilling.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Monica, again, luxury retail. Of course, we have had the very large scale retails already, with GCCs, but luxury retail, again, it's a very niche segment. So, how do you see comparing yourself to, let's say, the traditional GCC landscape? What are some of the unique challenges that you face as compared to some of the traditional ones? And how are you looking at turning those challenges into opportunities?
Thank you, Shipra. So yeah, like you rightly said, right, retail has been around for a long time. Lowe's, Target, all of these guys came into India about, one came 20 years back, the other one came 10 years back. So we thought that, retail is something that we have cracked the code on when it comes to the GCC. But as you get into niche areas of retail, you get into fashion retail, the types of, say, Neiman Marcus or Saks and those kind of companies, Victoria's Secret. When companies came in, they thought, we have ready talent. But then we realized that fashion retail by itself is a different sector. It's not necessarily retail itself. So some of the challenges that we have is, we don't have ready talent. Like GCC as an industry in India has been, around for good 20 years, and Texas came in 30 years back. So it's a mature industry. So a lot of talent is ready for the regular sectors like your BFSIs and stuff like that, right? IT. But when it comes to fashion retail, we don't have ready talent. So we have to start hiring and skilling them based on what we need. But as you are new brands and you're not an established sector, people really fear. They think, is it a stable industry? Can I join this organization? Will my career be on the right track? So stability is in question. So building that confidence in the employees after hiring them, first finding them and then hiring and keeping them, that is a challenge. The other thing is, given the Indian regulatory system, every sector has its own legal issues. Every sector can have very, very different cultures that we have to adapt ourselves to. A fashion retail, one of the examples I can give is, in my 25 years of career, I was told that there are some words you can't use when you're, in your official position. So we don't use certain words. And my day one at Neiman, and people were like, welcoming me on Teams. And I can tell this because it's a small group, but they use the word, damn sexy so casually. Because it's fashion, right? And for me, once it was like, oh my God, why isn't Teams like beeping? They're going to get a notice now that they used a word like this. That's the cultural nuance, which we have to adapt ourselves to. So each sector comes with its challenges, but having said that, we have the latecomer advantage as well. We already, know what are the challenges some of the existing GCCs have had. By exchanging notes, we can leapfrog much faster. We can definitely create a new pool of talent, which will stay with us because there's less competition in your sector. So they won't move around so much. So you can build their careers. I know when the regular retailers like the Targets and Lowe's of the world came in, people have spent 10 years in the GCC ever since they started, and they continue to be there because they've created their niche there. So that way, retaining talent is a great opportunity when you don't have competition.
That's an interesting point on the cultural difference, and I'll ask the others also, but very controversial question. Are you also targeting the other GCCs for getting the talent? The retail ones especially.
I'll reserve that comment.
It's okay, we can take it offline because, they have already established, they have the experience in doing that. So, Suchithra, again, what specific challenges do you have you, faced compared to some of the well-established GCCs? Are there certain challenges? So there will be, of course, challenges which are universal for all GCCs and for all businesses. But what are some of the unique challenges that you face as a non-traditional GCC sector? And how are you addressing those?
Yeah. Because of the nature of what we are doing in the agtech sector, and agtech, we've not, I can maybe safely make this comment, we have not yet broken the barrier in the digital world, right? We are testing, many companies are testing what can be done in agtech. So there is a lot of POCs and fail fast attempts happening. So the challenge here is to have resilience. A lot of people who come in want to achieve something. You want to see that your platform has gone live and there are 1 million users, and it doesn't happen easily in agtech, not yet. So you're still in the stage in the industry where agtech is not in every farmer's hand. A farmer would love to have predictability of what I should sow, what will give me the best price, what should I do with my land given the soil quality. All that information would make the farmer very equipped, and we are on path to get there. But as an industry, as tech, agtech, it's a journey to make. So I think at one level, people want to see quick results, especially when they see their peers do well in other domains and sectors, and then, what are we doing here? But the good thing is, 8 out of 10 people in the team have an agrarian background. And that helps because then they understand the reality of the problem. Their uncle is a farmer or their cousin is into farming, so something. So they relate that this is not a straight problem, and there is an interest. There's an innate interest to solve it and take it back home. And that helps. And I think the other thing is because it's a bit niche in terms of also what technology to use and how to work it. It's a bit like what you're doing. You have to be very careful about picking the right people with the right skills. And I relate to what you already said. You have to work a lot with the universities where there's a lot of agri universities, where there's research happening. We have to depend a lot on government support to enable access to the state programs or the farmer programs. So there are different other connected issues which is not yet standardized in the GCC world, right? So you're on a learning curve on how to do it. And that makes it a bit difficult because GCC is about standardizing, reusing, scaling, repeatability, whereas here every day is a new day. You are determining what to do. So that's the challenge.
That's a very interesting perspective. Like you said, here it's about, I think a lot of GCCs, especially the agriculture and the agri-tech and the ed-tech, they're very purpose-driven. So finding the talent who are purpose-driven, who have the patience to grow, and so you can't really, like you said, have repeatable models or scalable models where you can just follow a framework and grow. So Rajeev, from that perspective, how do you see this as a challenge in your sector?
So I think you touched upon a very important point, which is purpose-driven. So we've been kind of a little fortunate in the edtech space because predominantly all of us have been students at some point of time. And any time you try to contribute in an area which will help kids learn better, faster, it kind of comes with that halo effect of being a noble cause. And when that happens, I think we've really kind of seen a lot of good success in attracting good talent. The challenges around what I think I heard Monica say or Suchithra say around skilling people for your specific domain or industry will always be there. Like in our case, we don't have people in India who would probably understand the US curriculum to start with, or all of those kind of different student data sets and keeping the kind of personal information besides and doing all those very, very like millions of kind of students compilations and data analytics. But those are things that can be trained. As long as we have people who are purpose driven, who really feel aligned to the purpose, I think I have seen a lot of hunger in our talent. And again, in the short time that we've been around, less than a year, there are some pretty large, long-standing problems that some pretty young folks with like 5 years experience, 4 years experience have been able to help the whole organization with. And I think that's the value that we call it GCC, but I'm just saying a global operation brings, where you have good talent pool, which is where we are.
Right. So the cut, copy, paste doesn't work in these kind of sectors. So therefore, and I think comparison with the traditional GCCs also would not be right in this case, because you have to really wait for that value to build up and show the results, in fact. Balaji, now taking to the dimension of technology. So we are seeing, of course, AI, automation, data analytics. Businesses across industries are leveraging these. So how are you looking at these technologies driving efficiency, innovation, and competitive edge, not only from the terms of, in terms of improving internal efficiencies, but also as a competitive edge for your parent organization, for them to build innovative business edge through this innovation coming from India?
So I think for us, we recognize that in India we have the talent for AI, automation, analytics. I mean, we are living in those hubs, right? But we also know as an organization, we are sitting on top of a lot of data, a lot of client data, right? So we are a public accounting firm, so the books of accounts are open to us. But there's a fiduciary responsibility on what we can or cannot do with the data. So I think being aware of that, and we are operating in a highly regulated industry, right? So for us, getting the formula right alongside the talent was very important. So we'll get the talent, the tech talent. We also house our core businesses in India, right? So our assurance and tax and consulting business sitting out of India is delivering client service to our US clients. And we have the building blocks. We have the, so to speak, the ingredients in the kitchen. But more importantly, our formula was, okay, we need to, first of all, get the philosophy or the design philosophy behind our GCC right. So our mandate is to help the firm transform through innovation. So we got that, we nailed that down. Second piece was making sure that we have global roles driving these changes sitting out of India. So for instance, the leader for driving ideation through the firm, and not just the GCC, but through the firm is sitting out of Bangalore. The person who is overseeing the entire automation engine for the firm is sitting out of Bangalore. The person who is overseeing the global contractor platform, which, so if you have to innovate, you have to partner with a lot of third parties. That leadership is sitting out of Bangalore. So we started to get these building blocks of roles established out of Bangalore, because that's where the action is, right? Then the next piece is making sure we are intentionally orchestrating knowledge flows and ideations and the delivery of transformation from our business through our risk department, through our technology department. All of that is happening very intentionally, and not just in India, across our firm. So that orchestration became very important for us. Right. And the output is your platforms, the output is automation, AI. Now, from a client perspective, the game is very simple. Do we understand the business? Are we keeping them safe? And are we doing it at a pace which helps them be more responsive in the marketplace? So for us, AI, automation, analytics is a lot about enabling our clients do their job best, and so that they don't have to worry about being audited or their tax being filed or being consulted on a project, right? So for us, it is just making sure we get these things out of their way. That helps.
Great. So, Saru, in fact, with your organization, considering the already complicated nature and the complex nature that you described to us of the kind of work that you do from here, you're also, how are you leveraging some of these technologies to build an innovation pipeline here from India, contributing to the global product delivery? It's not just about how you can make the operations more efficient, but also build the innovation pipeline. So how are you doing that, especially using some of these new technologies?
I love this question. I really love this question. Yeah. So, see, I talked about energy density, right? So there are other things too, right? There's something called fast charging. Who wants to wait for your cell phone to charge, right? Nobody wants to wait. My daughter groans if there is every % increase. She's upset, right? It's so slow in charging, right? And then safety. You've heard of so many incidents in battery. It's a chemistry environment inside the battery, but we want to make it safe, right? That's difficult too. And who wants to throw out a battery in 1 month? Nobody does, right? And we call that cycle life, right? So typically it's 3 years, right, for a battery to go bad. And that's the mobile, our customers, that's what they ask from us, right? So, okay, give us a battery that will last for 3 years, right? So these are all difficult, very, very, very difficult chemical engineering inside the battery kind of problems. Very difficult problems, right? So we use a lot of modeling, first principle models, AI, very well used inside our system, right? To design, I talked about the anode, cathode, and all that stuff. What is this material? How do we mix that material, right? What is the particle size, right? I talked about electrolyte, right? And electrolyte is a liquid, right? And there is like 25 components in the liquid. We have 15 years of data, right? With all these 25 components. How do I make this cocktail, right? We use a lot of AI there, right? Next generation products, right? If I have to test my battery for 3 years, there is no time. Where is my next gen product coming, right? So we need accelerated techniques, right? Or we should say, well, there is my battery with some initial data. Can I predict what's going to happen in 3 years, right? All this, we use AI, right? So it's very exciting. And there are lots of technologies coming in the way, right? And very, very promising, and it's going to create disruptions. AI might be able to tell us what is the next best material. It's a little far away, but at the speed at which AI is going, I don't think anything is far away. So very exciting, so we keep using all these techniques.
So a lot of innovations that you're speaking about, AI enabling in the battery technology space, are most of these innovations coming from India? Going from India
Right
to your
now,
parent organization?
Yeah, so Enovix, it was mostly a Fremont-based company, and we had the factory in Fremont, R&D in Fremont, but we realized it's very expensive. So we have moved the factory to Malaysia, and R&D is slowly moving to India. So we are doing all this cutting-edge research.
So you're on the track to that innovation.
We are in the cutting-edge research.
Great.
Yeah.
Monica, in fact, when we were talking and we kind of decided that we will not get into the back-end operations part at all. And for the traditional GCCs, that of course still continues to be a big part of their operation. So in your case, it's all about what makes you unique is innovation. So can you tell us about how you are pumping in that innovation to your global product lines, to your global offerings?
Sure, thanks, Shupra. So just taking a step back, let's take an India example, right? If you go to a Malayali store, which is in your neighborhood, like I have a store which is run by a Kerala family. I know that I can pretty much find every single product that I can think of. It may be a small store, but stacked up. Like they'll just have the right product for you at the right time. And they're also open from 7 a.m. in the morning till 11 p.m. So right product, right place, right time. I think all businesses strive to do that, whether they use Gen AI, automation, whatever. Because that is the ultimate goal, because you have to drive your top line and in turn your bottom line as well. And in today's day, either you go to a shop which is available throughout the day, or you use your apps which are delivering really fast. Now, if you go on Amazon and see that a product is going to deliver after 7 days, in a blink of a second, you're going to log out of that app because you don't have the patience to wait anymore. Whereas a Blinkit does it in 5 minutes, right? Now, when we talk about fashion retail, fashion is a very personal thing, right? I don't want to order a dress or a pair of shoes and wait for 15 days. Whereas the production line is very different, whether you have things in stock or not, whether you have to order based on the orders that are getting placed by the customer. So all these things keeping in mind, I think fashion retail had to be ahead of it. We couldn't have had our customers waiting for 10, 15 days to get their dresses or clothes. So we started using AI as well. I would say that while India is not driving most of it, but as a sector, a lot of India GCCs are playing a big part in that. To find the right product at the right place, time, and this thing we are using, we are making sure that the supply chain is using AI in a sense that, do we have the right products? Is there any disruptions in the supply chain? Will things reach on time? So a lot of these analytics are being used for warehousing part of it, for supply chain part of it. Are we getting the right customers at the right price? So doing a lot of, what do you call it, what's the right word? Dynamic pricing. So if my competitor is selling at a particular price, can I make sure that my price is being adjusted at the right time, almost real time, so that I'm not losing the customer? So, these are some of the examples, but we continue to do that because we have to be at least with the competition, if not ahead of it.
Yeah. So I think today's panel, as we wrap up, what I've seen is that such diverse sectors and such diverse dynamics that each of these sectors, from battery technology, agri-tech, education, public accounting, fashion, retail, I think every one of you has a very niche requirement, niche understanding, and how each one of you are working on the talent pool and the processes to get this all together in your sector. So very quickly on a closing remark, what do you see as the vision going forward? What do you see as the trends or disruptions that you see for the new age GCCs in India in the next 2 to 3 years? So Suchithra, you go first.
No, I think definitely all of us are building on the past experience. That's critical. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's the starting point. And that gives a good, that gives a good impetus to move forward. I think emerging technologies, especially AI, whether it's Gen AI or even deeper AI that you are working with data, is probably going to propel some of these innovations. And again, the experience of having worked with technologies in India, serving different sectors and clients helps the workforce here. So to that extent, I think we are well poised. I also think we should be ready for this, not run-of-the-mill, but very specific, small, niche, laser-focused. I'm using the word laser-focused
exactly.
very mindfully and not fall into the trap of, hey, what's your team size? How big is your office? How big is your building?
I think the discussions completely changed when we talk
Yes,
to the
yes.
these
So
sectors.
and very much focused. I think we talk customer centricity very loosely. For me, it's the farmer. Really focused on what can you do to help a farmer.
Right.
And we ignored farmers for many years. So I think that kind of thing gives me the energy personally, and that's the opportunity for this sector.
So very quickly, one line each. What do you see as the new disruption, Saru, going forward for you in this space?
Yeah, so I think I alluded to this already. So materials discovery by AI. Is it really possible? I think it is. I think it will revolutionize the whole industry.
And we'll see that coming from India as well, a lot of it.
Might, yes, yeah.
Hopeful, yes. Monica, new disruptions that you foresee for these GCCs in India?
See, I think not just the non-traditional one, but I think GCC is an industry. And irrespective of the sector, everyone will be in India. In fact, the older GCCs are going to be a global GCC from India who will be managing, GCCs in the offshore nearby and stuff like that. So we are here to stay. All the big businesses across the world will have to leverage India and its talent.
So I think everybody's talked about technology. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about a mindset shift. It's about driving end-to-end ownership and driving a positive change. And I think that's going to be the key disruption. Anyone who is still in that order-taking mentality in the good old back days, that won't be a good success.
Great.
For us as public accounting, the big trend or the big disruption ahead is 75% of certified public accountants in the US are going to retire in the next 15 years. And as of today, we are deficit by about 300,000 accountants in the US.
Oh my God.
You know which country is surplus in accountants? Any guesses? You're sitting right there. So if you want a career shift, if your kids want to pick a career, or your niece or a nephew is looking for a career option, accountants, very interestingly, they're not called sexy back in the day, are right now going to come back in vogue, right? So I know they're short of time, but just to give some perspective on the opportunity that lies ahead.
Yeah. Great, thank you so much. So we will, take a pause here. I'm saying a pause because we will continue the discussion. But one thing that I want to summarize from my end is that there is no one formula that we see for the new breed GCCs, which we have seen with the other traditional GCCs. And while you have a lot of learnings that you can have and leapfrog, but I think ultimately you each has to work on their own formula. I think you're just, all of us are trying to get it right. But thank you so much, and it's great and it's a pleasure moderating this discussion. Thank you so much.